Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Bad Movie Night. My name's Chris, and tonight I'm talking about Willy's Wonderland, a movie directed by Kevin Lewis. And this has probably been on a bunch of people's radars because it is essentially that Five Nights at Freddy's movie starring Nicolas Cage. That is the premise, and that's kind of the basic storyline. Nicolas Cage shows up into town, his car breaks down, and he takes up the gig of cleaning up Willy's Wonderland overnight in exchange for his car being repaired. But some animatronic horror hijinks ensue. So I was excited for this movie. I think most people were. Just the premise alone is already evocative and interesting. Nicolas Cage is always all over the place, but he's a really charismatic dude, really likable actor. He can be crazy, and that's what people really like about him in these low-budget-ish B movies. Obviously, everybody really loved him in Mandy, and also The Color Out of Space. He did a great job. Mom and Dad, where he's dialed up in a way where it's just so extreme and it's fun to see. Outside of that, he's also a really great actor, but he has a very strong on-screen persona and draw, which he carries through in this movie as he shows up into town, and he's this loner guy, and he's a silent protagonist. The whole movie barely says anything, if even a single line, and just gives a look. And he's still very commanding on screen, especially considering all the other characters they throw in as fodder. So I did take a quick look and see what other people thought of this movie, and it looks like I'm probably going to be one of the dissenters. I didn't love this thing as much as everybody else did. It's not to say there isn't things to like about it, obviously. It does deliver on its premise, and I guess that's the baseline thing you can ask for a movie, but it just barely does, in my opinion. When you tell me this idea, Nicolas Cage and a Five Nights at Freddy's thing, my mind does go to work. And I get my expectations weren't going to be exactly met. But, I don't know, man. Like, Nicolas Cage never really dials it up to 11. They don't really unleash the full Nicolas Cage of what you want, I think, for this movie. It's just ultimately unsurprising and really kind of derivative. There's just predictable things with teens going off, having sex, getting killed in ways that you've seen a million times before. The whole gimmick of these animatronic monsters coming to life and killing you is all right, but there's no real decent kills in this movie. I wasn't very impressed with the animatronic monsters. We just did the Banana Splits movie last year, which people have very negative opinions about, and I thought that movie was okay. And what I liked about that movie compared to this is that the animatronics and the creatures looked friendly, but they were evil and did murderous things. So it was that juxtaposition between the childish, friendly nature of a mascot type thing, but it also, horrific murderer machine. Now this, you go in and you look at any of these animatronics, and they're terrifying looking. It's like the fucking Annabelle movies and shit like that. They never look like a real doll. They look like they're straight from the fires of hell. So no wonder they're acting so evil. So that just kind of bugged me. They also don't, to me, act like they're very animatronic. Some of them definitely better than others. But most of the time it looks like a guy in a suit, and it moves like a guy in a suit. And other times it's CGI, which I didn't think was very good. And the first impression you get from these things is in the CGI battle with Nicolas Cage. It just doesn't look that great as far as I'm concerned. And people will be quick to say, well, this is a low-budget movie. It was made for $5 million. Well, I don't buy that. $5 million is a decent amount of money for a low-budget movie. Hell, the Saw movie was made for like $1.5 million. Get Out was made for less. The Babadook. These are all much better movies in my opinion, with a lot less budget. But after all that, I still enjoyed this movie for what it is. I just don't think it reaches its potential almost in every way. It doesn't reach its Nicolas Cage potential. It doesn't reach its Five Nights at Freddy's comparisons either. The thing about Five Nights at Freddy's is you're sitting in that room looking at the monitors, and you see the bear, and you look over here, and you look over there, and you see the bear, and you look over here, and you look over there, and the bear's moved. And it's that little movements and that tension that starts to build. And you're like, oh no, where did this thing go? This is nothing like that. It's always just kind of balls out action for the most part. There's no real tension in this movie. At least I didn't feel any. And it doesn't help that Nicolas Cage is just kind of like a killing machine and is never really in danger. I mean, if you're coming to this movie because you want to see Nicolas Cage beat animatronic monsters, that's what you're gonna get. But that's basically all you're gonna get. And I feel like there's potential here for a lot more. The production quality is great. The camera work's good. The editing is good. The lighting is really fun. The music is fine. There's some backstory they explain with the creatures and this lore. They never explain anything with Nicolas Cage character, which I did kind of think was fun. He's this random loner who shows up, and that can definitely work, and he is definitely able to pull off that persona. There's not much humor here either. Besides like the zany concept, there's some moments where Nicolas Cage is like playing pinball and drinking soda cans, and I guess that's supposed to be funny. It adds to the tone, I'll give you that, but there's never really a laugh out loud moment or anything like that. So it's got the tone of a lighthearted movie, but there's not much comedy here. The other thing, we're coming to this movie for these animatronic kills and monsters, but almost all of the fights with the animatronics are so quick and over with not much like problem. They're usually pretty easy to dispel, which one, it kind of hurts the movie overall for me because that's kind of why we're here, I thought. But two, it really hurts the overall lore that they build with this storyline and how this Willy's Wonderland has affected the whole town, where it seems like maybe it's not actually much of a problem and could have been dealt with pretty easily before Nicolas Cage even showed up. I know a lot of people say, well, you're just kind of nitpicking, and I get it. This isn't a movie that begs to be deeply analyzed. It's just, overall, I was disappointed with this movie. I guess maybe I set my expectations too high. But I wanted more character from Nicolas Cage. I think he's set up interestingly, but I was waiting for the moment where he would snap and you would see him explode on screen. And he does get violent with these creatures, but I just wish he had more of a character with some dialogue. I think that would have been added to the fun, at least for me. There's also zero depth to this movie, and it's not, again, not something that you really need for something like this, but comparing it to like the Banana Splits movie, that movie, like, characters had an arc. And while the production isn't as slick, I think it might be a better movie in general. This is just surface. This is super surface, and it's fine, and it's fun, but it's completely unsurprising too. So I'm okay with a surface movie if you're doling out the action, which this movie does. It's just kind of repetitive and nothing that super interesting for me. I don't know. I'm sure most of you people disagree. I'm sure mostly everyone disagrees. Maybe this movie just hit me on the wrong day or something, but it's not bad. It's not great. It's okay. That's kind of how I feel about it. So, Willy's Wonderland. If you've seen it, let me know what you think, and then I will catch you here next time, guys. Goodbye.